Do you spend a lot of time dreaming about the success you hope to have? If not, perhaps it's time to start. Hi, I'm John Marble, and this is Build Your Difference.
This is Build Your Difference, a podcast created by Blue Artists, a brand platform with one goal: to help great visionaries like you build impressive brands. Every month, we'll bring you insightful tips, knowledge, and compelling stories from successful entrepreneurs and the Blue Artist team on how to create and market a winning brand that does more than just launch a new product or service. It starts an ongoing conversation. Because you're not just making a brand, you're making a difference. Let's start building.
In a recent article by Tom Corley, posted on CNBC.com, he asks a question that I'm sure we've all wondered about. Why is it so hard to achieve financial success in life? We know it's possible. At least, all the wealthy individuals we see and hear about, from Bill Gates to Jeff Bezos, would suggest that yes, indeed, there are people who have achieved considerable financial success. But that begs the next question. How did they do it? Indeed, how did they do it? I certainly would like to know, wouldn't you? Well, Tom sure did, and he set out to discover exactly this in his Rich Habits study, spending 5 years observing and documenting the daily activities of 233 wealthy individuals. It's worth noting here that for his study, he identified a wealthy individual as someone with $160,000 in annual gross income and $3.2 million in net assets. 5 years observing the daily habits of the rich. What exactly did Tom learn? And could it help the average Joes and Janes like you and me achieve this level of wealth? Tom came away from this study identifying 4 paths to becoming a millionaire. Let's go through these now. Path number 1. This is known as the Saver Investor Path. Just as it sounds, persons in this group make it a habit to save and invest. Path number 2. The Company Climber's Path. This is the person who starts at an entry-level position at a company and does all they can to work up the corporate ladder, gaining promotions, and with it new titles, responsibilities, and yes, higher salaries. Path number 3. The Virtuoso's Path. Are you considered a whiz or a genius at what you do? Would you and others consider your talents exceptional? If so, you'd likely fall into this group. So how does this path lead to increased wealth? Well, simply put, if you are considered to be the premier talent in your field, you can command a higher rate from your clients. The catch: you usually need an advanced degree, or at the very least, years of experience under your belt. After all, few if any of us are born automatically knowing how to do a heart transplant, for example. And path number 4. The Dreamer's Path. The individuals who fall into this category are often looking to accomplish a dream. They may want to start their own business, become an actor, a musician, or a best-selling author. The advantage that dreamers have is that they love what they do. It is not a job. For them, it's a passion, a calling even. Now, I'm sure the question that was on my mind when I read these 4 paths to financial success is the same one you're probably asking right about now. Okay, 4 paths to get rich. Got it. Thanks, Tom. So, which one is the fastest way to get rich? Well, to my surprise, Tom identified the Dreamer's Path as the fastest path for getting rich. According to his study, this group had an average net worth of $7.4 million, which he cites as being far higher than any other group. Furthermore, he notes they managed to acquire said wealth over a 12-year period. Again, surprisingly, he claims his study shows this to be the fastest path to wealth. And it's true. Dreamers are everywhere in our society. We mentioned a couple already, but there's also Mark Zuckerberg, Oprah Winfrey, and Chad Hurley, one of the original founders of YouTube. All of these individuals got rich by starting their own company. And this is the point where you're probably asking about now, okay, John, what's the catch? This dreamer's path, Tom notes, though the fastest to accumulating wealth, is also the hardest, riskiest, and most stressful. Ah, rats. And just when you thought we'd found the perfect path to fortune. And the stress Tom mentions? Here are a few things that contribute to that. Hurdles, letdowns, mistakes, disappointments, rejection, and financial setbacks. Just to name a few, of course. One of the dreamers in his study described it as a daily walk through hell. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk more about the fastest way to get rich. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking about the fastest way you can get rich. If you're still here with me, kudos to you. So, think you've got what it takes to achieve success on the dreamer path? Well, you'll need to put in long hours. And I mean long hours. What's that, you say? Oh, you put in 40 hours every week. Well then, you're not dreaming. You're maybe contemplating, but you're not dreaming. A dreamer will often put in at least 60 to 80 hours each week. This isn't their job that they leave behind when they go home at night. This is their life from sunup to sundown. Weekends, vacations. The amount of time needed to devote to this can sometimes ruin relationships. So before you head down the dreamer path, it might be wise to discuss this with your spouse or partner. Starting out single, make sure your friends and family know what to expect. Want to be a dreamer? Well, you can expect your lifestyle to change. And I don't mean fancy cars, big houses, and lavish vacations. Though you might get to that at some point. In the beginning, though, you'll likely face continual financial stress and obstacles. You can forget about steady paychecks in those first couple of years. No, chances are you'll be biting your nails in those first few months or years, wondering how you're going to pay the bills, or worse, keep your house. Still willing to dream? Great. Then let me ask you this. Do you like to gamble? Dreamers are by nature risk takers. It's not uncommon for them to put up their home, car, or savings in order to achieve success. And did the gamble pay off? Tom says his studies showed that more than half the dreamers had failed several times. This means they likely lost their home, car, savings, or worse, all three at some point along the way. Anyone who's ever had an ambitious goal before has probably had their friends or family try to talk them out of it. You know the typical lines you hear. Why don't you get a real job? They'll say. Well, it's demotivating. And it doesn't help that the dreamers hear no so often. No one would blame you if you threw in the towel. Tom's advice for those wondering about following the dreamer's path to wealth? You need to be a risk taker. Any aversion to this, and you're likely on the wrong path. But there may be hope for you if the following applies. You are definitely not suited to work under the direction of someone else. You need to be your own boss. Or, as I told my friends and family, I don't necessarily need to be in charge of someone else. I just need to be in charge of me. Are you goal-oriented? This will be a useful trait when starting out on this path. For dreamers, Tom points out, that goals are something that they need to accomplish rather than try. Do you feel like you just can't do anything else? Like you can't feel at peace until you've accomplished something? Well, then you might be a dreamer. Are you trying to improve yourself? If you're going down the dreamer path, chances are you'll be going it alone in many cases, especially in the beginning. So it's up to you to work on improving yourself, gain those new skills, fine-tune your business savvy. You'll want to devote up to 30 minutes a day doing this, which could be anything from reading, exercising, taking classes, attending seminars, and networking. Do you enjoy spoiling yourself with lavish gifts and impulse buys? Well, you might want to say goodbye to those shopping sprees. Dreamers can't usually afford to dine out and or splurge in those early years of getting started. Remember how we talked about the financial struggles is one of the hallmarks of the dreamer's path before reaching success? Well, this is why dreamers don't spend unless they need to. Want is not an option for them at this stage. It's all about need, and they need to hold on to that money until success finally comes. What are your thoughts about procrastination? Hopefully they won't be kind thoughts, because procrastination is a dreamer's worst nightmare. For them, they like to check off as much as possible from their to-do list as they can. Those who've achieved success tend to accomplish 70 to 80% of their daily tasks. And finally, let's face it, for most of us when trying something new, whether we're learning to ride a bike or we're starting a new business, we're going to fall the first time or two. Dreamers understand this from the beginning, and so have learned to focus not on their failures, but on their successes. And Tom's study revealed that dreamers tended to keep a victory log of their accomplishments, which they could refer back to when they needed a little boost of motivation of sorts. So, let's recap here for a second. If you're self-motivated, goal-oriented, willing to live moderately, capable of accomplishing most daily tasks, and are focused on success rather than failure, then the dreamer path towards wealth may be right for you. And if that's the case, well, quit daydreaming and get to work. This has been Build Your Difference. And on behalf of Blue Artists, I'm John Marble, wishing you happy holidays.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Difference. If you'd like to learn more about how Blue Artists can help you develop a distinguished brand that inspires and engages a growing audience, then please visit us at www.blue-artists.com and be sure and subscribe to our monthly podcast for the latest tips and trends in brand development and marketing. And remember, you're not just making a brand, you are making a difference. Start building yours today.